The bazaar on Cryon Station was a river of color and sound, a tide of traders haggling in a dozen tongues. Spices from desert moons stung the air, hollow screens flashed symbols no human could read. Captain Elias Ward walked the crowded causeway with the practiced stillness of a man who had survived battlefields. His human delegation was small, barely tolerated among the sea of alien banners. For all its brightness, Elias knew the station's markets hid shadows. He felt it before he saw it: silence. The kind that fell too suddenly, too completely. A scream broke it. High, sharp, terrified. A child's scream. Elias's head snapped to the sound. 20 meters away, armored Zyran soldiers pushed through the crowd, dragging a small figure by the arm. Human. No mistaking the dark hair, the pale face streaked with tears. A girl, maybe 7. She kicked, clawed, fought with every ounce of defiance her small body could muster. No one moved to help. Vendors looked away. Shoppers shrank back. Even the station guards turned their eyes to the floor. The Zyrans knew what they were doing. Elias's hand hovered near his sidearm. His voice cut the air like a blade. Let her go. The lead soldier paused, for black eyes narrowing. He was tall, armored in dull crimson plating, a jagged crest running along his skull. He sneered in the guttural growl of his people. She is property now. Your laws mean nothing here. Elias stepped forward, calm but unyielding. She's not property. She's a child. Release her. The soldier laughed, a chittering sound that echoed against the metal walls. Humans. Always so loud over one life. He yanked the girl higher. She cried out again, legs dangling. The galaxy will not stop spinning for your squealing offspring. Elias's jaw tightened. He had seen battle, but this was worse, the cold indifference of a crowd too afraid to care. A murmur spread. Dozens of species watched, waiting. Would the human back down? Would he prove the rumors right, that humans bark but fold when cornered? Elias didn't move for his weapon. Instead, he raised his voice, steady and deliberate. Hear me clearly. For us, one child is not one. One child is the whole world. The soldier's grip tightened. You would risk your kind's fragile place here over this scrap of flesh? Yes, Elias said without hesitation. Every time. The standoff crackled with tension. Station security arrived, thin-framed officials in blue robes, but they made no effort to intervene. They simply recorded evidence, nothing more. Then another voice rang out. Calm, mocking. Bold words, Captain Ward. Counselor Varix Maltor stepped from the upper platform, flanked by attendants. His presence shifted the air itself. Where the soldiers radiated brute force, Varix exuded calculation. His tall, angular frame was draped in silver ceremonial cloth, his eyes sharp as glass shards. He spread his hands and feigned innocence. Such passion. Over one small creature. Tell me, Captain, will Earth throw away the Concord's peace for this child? Elias met his gaze. If that's what it takes. Varix's lips curved into something colder than a smile. Then you prove my point. Humans are unfit for Concord politics. Too emotional. Too reckless. You mistake sentiment for strength. The girl whimpered. Elias took one step closer. The soldiers stiffened but didn't raise weapons. The crowd held its breath. Elias spoke evenly, his voice carrying farther than it should have. You see recklessness. But let me tell you what the galaxy sees wrong. You call one child nothing. We call her everything. That is our strength. A ripple went through the watching aliens. Whispers, uncertain, conflicted. For the first time, some lifted their eyes from the floor. Varix raised a hand, silencing the noise. Enough of this display. Take her. The soldier tugged, preparing to vanish into the crowd with his prize. Elias didn't move to stop him with force. Instead, he turned, not to the soldier, not to the girl, but to the recording officials. His voice thundered with the weight of command. Mark this moment. I invoke Article 17 of the Concord Accords. Dependents under human protection are kin to humanity. Harm one, and you declare hostility against our entire species. Gasps erupted. The officials froze mid-scroll. That clause was ancient, ceremonial, written in a forgotten era of the Concord. It had never been invoked. The soldier faltered, grip loosening slightly on the girl. Varix's face hardened, silver eyes narrowing into slits. You dare twist our laws against us? They are not your laws, Elias replied. They are ours as much as yours. You signed them. And by them I stand. For the first time, the crowd stirred. Not with fear, but with curiosity. Some species leaned forward. Others whispered with interest. Elias stepped closer, his voice lowering, sharp as a blade. If you keep her, you do not face me alone. You face Earth. You face every human world. And we will not stop. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the child's sobs quieted as she clung to the soldier's wrist. Varix studied Elias, measuring him, calculating costs. His soldiers shifted uneasily under the weight of so many eyes. The ancient clause had been spoken aloud. Ignored, it would tear at the very fabric of the Concord's credibility. Honored, it would hand Earth a weapon no one wanted them to wield. At last, with a flick of his clawed hand, Varix signaled. The soldier released the girl. She stumbled forward into Elias's arms. He knelt, steadying her, his voice soft now. You're safe. No one will touch you again. The crowd exhaled as though it had been holding its breath for hours. Elias rose with the child clinging to him. He met Varix's eyes across the market. This is not finished, Varix said coldly. You have made enemies today, Captain. Elias's answer was quiet, but every word carried. Good. Now they know where we stand. He turned, leading his delegation back through the parted crowd, the child held close against his chest. Whispers followed them, but for the first time since humans had walked the halls of Cryon Station, the whispers carried something new. Not fear. Respect. The council chamber of Cryon Station shimmered with light from the twin suns outside. Tall arches framed the room, polished metal reflecting banners of every Concord species. What was meant to symbolize unity now felt like a tribunal. At the center stood Captain Elias Ward, the rescued child safe in human quarters, while the council prepared to dissect his defiance. Councillor Varix Maltor presided at the dais, his silver robes glinting. His four-fingered hand rested on the edge of the table like a predator's claw. Captain Ward, he began, voice smooth but edged with contempt. You have weaponized a relic of law never meant for practice. Do you grasp what you've unleashed? Elias held his ground. I understand perfectly. Article 17 binds us all. You chose to test it. You lost. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded with interest, others frowned, worried at the precedent. Varix raised a hand, silencing the noise. Earth seeks to cloak itself in righteousness, yet threatens galactic peace with every breath. You invoked a forgotten clause over one child. Do you know the danger you pose? Elias's voice was steady. Peace built on fear isn't peace. It's a cage. Humanity will not bow to silence when one of ours is stolen. The chamber's screens lit up with feeds of starships. Human vessels stood at high alert, bristling at the edges of Concord space. Smaller species began to broadcast their unease, sending signals back to their homeworlds. The galaxy was watching. A score delegate, scales shimmering turquoise, leaned forward. Captain Ward, do humans truly mean to defend any dependent as kin? Even alien young? Elias met the reptilian eyes without hesitation. If they are under our guard, yes. No distinction. No exceptions. Whispers swelled again, sharper this time. Some saw reckless risk, others glimpsed a promise worth believing in. Varix struck the dais with his staff, the sound cracking like thunder. Dangerous madness! Humanity arms itself with sentiment, ready to burn the stars for one fragile life. Elias's lips curved into something close to a smile, though there was no humor in it. You call it madness. We call it an oath. Every child matters. That's the ground we stand on. And if that makes us dangerous, then understand why wars against us never end in your favor. For the first time, unease flickered across Varix's sharp features. The session adjourned in chaos, debates spilling into side chambers. Elias stepped into the quieter halls, exhaustion tugging at his shoulders. The girl's terrified eyes still haunted him, a memory echoing from years before. He remembered smoke-choked streets on Europa, during the last border conflict. His squad had fought through fire to evacuate civilians. Elias himself had carried a boy barely older than the girl, lungs seared from chemical blasts. The boy had lived. Others hadn't. That night had carved a single truth into Elias's soul: no casualty is small, no life expendable. A voice pulled him back from memory. You've made quite the spectacle. Elias turned. Ambassador Corin Velez, Earth's chief diplomat, leaned against the corridor wall, arms folded. His suit was immaculate, his tone wry. You realize what you've done, Elias? Entire fleets may move because of your words. I know, Elias said quietly. But they needed to hear it. Corin's expression softened. I agree. Just understand the storm you've invited. Before Elias could answer, alarms rippled through the station. Crimson lights flared, followed by the metallic voice of the station AI. Unauthorized Zyran patrols detected at outer perimeters. Hostile maneuvers confirmed. Elias and Corin exchanged a look. The council's debates had already spilled into violence. Minutes later, in the tactical hub, hollow projections displayed skirmishes breaking out along the station's borders. Zyran patrol ships harassed human transports, probing defenses. They weren't full assaults, but provocations, testing Earth's response. Orders? A junior officer asked, eyes flicking between Elias and Corin. Defensive only, Elias said sharply. We don't start this war. But we'll end any strike they commit. On the projection, 2 human frigates tightened formation, their shields flaring as Zyran fire glanced off. The humans didn't break. The standoff dragged, tension rising like a drawn bowstring. Elias watched in silence, then turned to the officer. Transmit this across open channels. Earth does not retreat. Earth does not surrender. Every ship under our banner shields the helpless, and every helpless soul is ours to guard. The officer hesitated, then obeyed. The words went out, unfiltered, echoing across Concord space. In far-flung systems, alien ears heard the broadcast. Some scoffed. Others listened with growing respect. A seed was planted. Later, as the skirmish subsided without escalation, Elias returned to his quarters. The child slept in a nearby room under guard, breathing steady at last. Corin stood by the viewport, stars stretching into infinity. She's safe for now, Corin said softly. But Varix won't let this go. He'll push harder. He wants to prove you reckless, to break humanity before you cement this oath. Elias stepped beside him, gaze fixed on the stars. Then let him push. He'll learn the same truth every would-be conqueror learns. We don't abandon our own. Not children, not allies. If they stand under our guard, they are ours forever. Corin studied him for a long moment. Do you know why the others fear us? Elias didn't answer. Corin continued, voice low. Because when humans fight, we don't calculate profit or loss. We fight as if every battle is the last stand. They see that as dangerous. I see it as something else. Elias finally looked at him. What's that? Unbreakable. The word hung between them, heavy and sharp. A comm alert chimed. An encrypted message from Earth Command scrolled across the screen, clause invoked. Guardianship recognized. All human fleets on alert. Await further orders. Elias exhaled slowly. The choice had been made, not just by him, but by Earth itself. The oath now bound an entire species. He glanced once toward the room where the child slept. She would never know the storm her kidnapping had ignited. But Elias knew. The galaxy had just learned the truth about humanity. They would burn the stars to shield even one small flame. The stars outside Cryon Station blazed with the glow of engines and weapons charging. Human warships had formed a defensive wall, steel and fire cutting against the dark. Across from them, the Zyran fleet spread like jagged claws, crimson hulls glimmering with menace. Inside the council chamber, the air was heavier than vacuum. Delegates whispered in hushed tones, every eye fixed on the confrontation playing out beyond the station's shields. At the center, Captain Elias Ward stood unflinching, his words already echoing through Concord networks. Counselor Varix Maltor's voice sliced the silence. "You've dragged us to the edge of war, Captain. For what? A single fragile life? Entire species will suffer for your arrogance." Elias met his gaze with steel. "Not arrogance. Principle. You think a child is nothing. To us, she is everything. And that difference is why we will not lose." Varix bared his teeth. "If humans define war on sentiment, you'll drown in it." "Then we drown standing," Elias replied, his tone calm but cutting. "And every ally who believes in something greater than survival will stand with us." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Delegates who had once avoided Earth's fire now looked thoughtful, some even inspired. A sudden calm burst filled the chamber with static. The station's AI projected a real-time feed. A Zyran destroyer fired across the human line, energy bolts slamming against shields. Human frigates returned fire in disciplined precision, no panic, no retreat. The standoff was over. The battle had begun. Varix leaned forward, voice dripping with triumph. "Your oath has birthed bloodshed. The galaxy will blame you." Elias shook his head. "The galaxy will remember who struck first. And they'll see who stands when no one else will." He turned toward the council, voice rising with unshakable conviction. "Let it be clear, the guardianship we invoked is no bluff. Harm those under our care, and Earth answers. Not with conquest. With protection. That's our line, and it will not break." The score delegate hissed approval, her scales brightening. A Lyrathi Anva murmured agreement, their translucent form glowing softly. Small voices joined, hesitant but growing, as if Earth's defiance had cracked the silence holding them back. Meanwhile, outside, the fleets clashed. Zyran cannons roared, but the human line held steady. Every movement was deliberate, every counterstrike disciplined. Elias had drilled into his officers a single command: shield, never abandon. In the tactical hub, his second-in-command relayed updates. "Minor damage on the Vanguard. Civilian transports secured. Holding formation. Maintain shields," Elias ordered. "Make them break on us." The battle was more than weapons, it was a message. Humanity wasn't showing dominance, it was showing resolve. Every ship bled energy to keep transports safe, every maneuver calculated to shield allies. That visual alone carried through the stars, broadcast across Concord channels. Varix's composure faltered. He slammed a clawed hand on the table. "You manipulate sympathy. But sympathy does not win wars." Elias locked eyes with him. "No. But conviction does. And conviction is something you've never understood." The council chamber doors burst open. A young aide rushed in, clutching a data slate. "Report. Zyran strike teams attempted boarding on Dock 6. Human marines repelled them. Civilians unharmed." Elias allowed himself a brief nod. He had seen this before, empires testing humanity's resolve, always underestimating what it meant when Earth said, "We protect our own." The battle escalated outside. Human destroyers pressed forward, shields interlocked, forcing the Zyran fleet back inch by inch. They weren't the strongest navy, not yet, but they were the most relentless. The council chamber grew louder, delegates arguing, some demanding a ceasefire, others urging sanctions. Through it all, Elias stood still, watching Varix's mask of superiority fracture. At last, Varix snarled, "Enough! Withdraw your fleets, or you'll burn this station to ashes." Elias stepped forward, voice low but resonant. "Look again, Counselor. We're not attacking your homes. We're not raiding your colonies. We're shielding this station, your people, even those who would spit on us. If fire comes, it will not be from us. That's the difference. That's why humanity belongs here. The words hit harder than weapons. Delegates who had feared human aggression now saw something else: unyielding guardianship, extended not only to their own but to all under their reach. Varix's last card was threat. You think you can guard an entire galaxy? Arrogance blinds you. Elias's reply was cold certainty. Not the galaxy. But every life entrusted to us, yes. That's our oath. And now, it's binding. At that moment, comms flashed again. The child, rescued earlier, appeared on the hollow feed, escorted by human officers into the chamber. She looked around, wide-eyed but unharmed. The sight shifted something in the room. The council fell silent. Elias's voice softened, but carried across every ear. This is why we fight. Not for conquest. Not for pride. For them. For anyone who cannot stand alone. If you cannot see the strength in that, then you see nothing at all. The chamber held its breath. Outside, the Zyran fleet faltered. Facing a wall of ships unwilling to yield, seeing smaller allies now drifting toward Earth's side, their commanders began to withdraw. One by one, crimson engines flared retreat. The war that could have erupted in fire ended in silence. Humanity had not crushed the enemy. They had endured, and in endurance they had won. Varix rose, cloak snapping behind him, fury carved into his face. This is not victory. This is a warning. Humanity will regret its oath. Elias straightened, shoulders squared. We don't regret what defines us. And from this day forward, understand this: if you touch one under our guard, you invoke all of Earth. And Earth does not let go. His words sealed into the record, transmitted across the Concord. The council adjourned in uneasy quiet. Delegates filed out, some whispering about alliances, others calculating new strategies. Varix stalked away, his threat unfulfilled but not forgotten. Elias stood by the viewport as the child clung to his hand, the stars burning beyond. Corin approached quietly, eyes heavy but hopeful. You've changed the Concord tonight. They'll never look at us the same. Good, Elias said softly. Let them see us as we are. Not conquerors. Guardians. The girl squeezed his hand. Elias looked down at her, then back at the stars. Humanity's place among them had been secured, not through dominance, but through a promise. And promises, once made, would be kept.